This morning, we've got team coverage from SCA where big changes are happening today. Real ID requirements go into effect. Farah Jadran's at the security lines where travelers are going through the checkpoints under the new federal guidelines.
And Shantae Sumter is there above security watching all that happens there at the airport this morning. Shantae, we'll start with you. These new ID requirements were passed about 20 years ago, but today's the big day. It's just decades in the making, right?
Oh yeah, Jake, and finally it is happening. Just moments ago before you all tossed to me, we had an Alaska Airlines worker come up and tell us thank you for letting people know, because she said this morning what she's seeing is a lot of people using those passports and not having the real ID. So that's what I've been seeing from looking down here. I am above checkpoint 4 and I've seen a lot of people traveling with passports. Of course, some may be leaving the country, but a lot probably actually are going domestically without having it. So that is one of the forms of ID requirements you need. The one thing that people have been asking us is what else could work. So passports, that's one. There's also enhanced driver's license, and then there are over a dozen options. So you're looking at a list of just a few. You can actually see a full list of the forms of IDs you can bring to the airport by just texting the word REAL to 206-448-4545. So as you heard Jake mention a few moments ago, this has been 20 years in the making. So the big suggestion is that you of course get an enhanced driver's license, but if not, a passport could work this morning. The Department of Licensing says that only 29% of Washingtonians actually have an enhanced license. They don't have data showing how many have passports or other forms of real ID, but last month only about 93,000 drivers in our state got an enhanced license. So that's the most ever in a single month. But of course, with only 29% compliance, you still have a lot of people that still need one. So this morning, if you are heading to the airport or traveling across the country, a lot of people are wondering, will I be turned away if I don't have the proper identification? The short answer is no. However, you will want to plan for delays. You could have to go through some type of extra security screenings. So far, it appears things are moving smoothly here at the airport, but Farah Jadran is down below at one of those TSA checkpoints. Farah, what are you seeing?
Well, Shantae, I actually just spoke to a spokesperson for CATC International Airport who said if somebody needs to go through that extra screening, what they believe TSA is doing is having them step aside so they can go through that and everyone else behind them can just keep moving along. Behind me here is one of the pre-check areas that's starting to back up a bit because it's actually down a couple lanes because of some construction happening throughout the airport. But you are seeing it starting to get a bit busier. So if you end up in a line like this and you end up by somebody who does not have that compliant ID, they're going to have to be moved aside and maybe some shuffling is going to happen. So that 2-hour come ahead of time for your domestic flight, that's a good idea. Maybe come a little bit sooner than that. Now, I was here yesterday as well, and I asked people if they were real ID ready. One person I spoke to off camera told me they're not ready and plan to rely on additional screening to get through security. Again, that's something the TSA is advising against. Others, though, have been ready for years.
I'm so grateful. I went earlier in COVID to get my enhanced driver's license, and I had an appointment and I had no wait. It was amazing, and it's not good to wait. People should have gotten them already. It's kind of too late now.
That was Molly Ford. She is not wrong. It is late in the game to hit today's real ID enforcement deadline. The Department of Licensing is booking appointments for enhanced driver's licenses about 2 months out, maybe more. Now, we're going to hear from some more people throughout the morning and their real ID experiences. I'll continue to monitor things from where I am. And like I said, this is starting to kind of back up because they're down a few lanes, not necessarily because extra people are going through screenings. But I did see one man who had to kind of step aside. It took him between 10 and 15 minutes to kind of go through a few more documents with one of the agents there. So it kind of looks like some of that additional screening happening. But like Shantae said, there are other things you can use if you did not yet do the enhanced driver's license and you're waiting to get an appointment. I have a full list here. We have it on king5.com as well, but I'm standing between Source and Starbucks. So find me, pool of information for you of other things you can use so that you can get through TSA smoothly. But we know things are going to continue to change for folks as they go forward. Let's get back over to Shantae. Shantae, you've been answering a lot of questions, and I know some folks are worried. Is there enough staffing for TSA agents? But it's not just at CATC Airport that this is being enforced. It's nationwide.
Yes, across the country, you will need a real ID. And as we mentioned, a passport is one of the options you can use. And for some people, it's actually quicker to get one of those than to get into a Department of Licensing right now. So as for wondering if more TSA workers will be at each airport, the short answer is no, because this is going into effect everywhere. So the TSA agent that we spoke to for our region says they're really going to have everybody on deck. So there are no extra workers to send to each airport.
Our operation will be fully staffed that day. We're going to bring people in who usually have other functions for TSA to help keep the operation moving efficiently and smoothly.
TSA says that the goal is to make sure that passengers who come with their real ID will be able to get through the gate smoothly, so they don't want to slow them down for any of you who may be traveling without that additional information. So the big thing this morning, if you are one of the people who does not have a real ID or a passport or any type of identification that is acceptable, you don't want to cut it close this morning. We are starting to see those lines start to back up. So we'll be answering more of your questions throughout the morning. If you have something you want to know concerning the real ID process, text us at 206-448-4545. For now, we're going to send it back to you, Jake and Mimi, but we are seeing those lines start to back up, so definitely not one of those mornings where you want to get to the airport right before an hour or shorter before your flight's leaving.
And you're not seeing anybody screaming at TSA agents so far this morning, hopefully.